Already there is a significant impact felt. There has been a significant contraction in demand and thus consumption. Of course, that's due to the significant limitation in movements, particularly in Gombe and the commercial areas. Factories and so forth have also been shut down. This in turn has led to a reduction in income and also a loss. Some don't know when they will be able to regain their income. And so it sort of perpetuates this lack of visibility. However, overall, the business community is hopeful that it will be a temporary impact and not a permanent. Mr. Jamil, if you would like to add.
Yes, Mr. Jamil is not able to connect yet, so we are going to move for the next question that Mr. Imran also and Mr. Shams are going to reply us on that question. The question is, what will be the long-term economic impact?
Further along the earlier answer, long-term, there is going to be, you're going to need to a big change in how business is conducted and how the economy recovers. There's going to be a shortage at the government treasury, particularly in the absence of any long-term financial and economic aid from donor organizations, be it the World Bank, the IMF, as well as friendly nations that have historically provided economic aid. We don't know the amounts where these funds will be allocated and how. The IMF has granted about 25 African countries, including Congo, debt relief for the next 6 months. And there is a longer-term assistance package that is going to be required. And so far, the IMF is considering a $365 million loan to the central bank to support the balance of payments as well as COVID-related initiatives. This will be given to the government directly. So we'd have to see how the government determines to provide that assistance to the wider economy. Likewise, there's going to be a significant shift in demand and consumption, as well as on the supply side, meaning production and investment. Again, that will have to be evaluated, I think, as developments occur, and solutions will have to be sought domestically as well, within each country and in collaboration with the global partners overall. This crisis has brought forward significant structural issues in African economies. As such, the international development and funding community is increasing their allocations towards investment and support into healthcare, agriculture, and basic industries in order to make economies more self-sufficient and internal supply chains strong. Mr. Shams, if you'd like to add.
The issue is, up to now, we don't have a cure. There are countries that have been hit hard and they're thinking of going back to work, but still the big question is it safe for people to go back? And in the long run, I'm not very pessimist because, if you see Congo itself, the Congolese have gone through major outbreaks of like malaria, HIV, Ebola, and I believe they have some inherent immunity, and I'm hoping that things will not go out of hand. But the reports I was watching even today, the World Health Organization said that Africa is going to have 300,000 deaths. This is what they're estimating. But so far, the countries that are really affected are Nigeria, Ghana, and South Africa. And we have to see, what happens in Congo. Now, how is it going to affect us as business people? I think as a business community, we have always been very resilient to all kinds of surprises, and what we have gone through, rebellions and pillage, and where business has been interrupted for a long period of time, for 6 months, 4 months, and we've come back quite strong. And I think we'll manage. There are some industries that will be affected. We all know that: tourism, hotels, real estate, saloons, spas, and I think, yeah. But then it will all come back. It will come back as soon as we get some treatments, whether they're in the form of injections or whatever. But right now, in the short term, we should settle up for some tough times. Thank you.
We'll move on to the third question. Congo being one of the main country exporting for mining. So the question will be for Rahim Drolia, Mr. Imran, and Mr. Shams. How will the mining sector be impacted, and how will this affect the economy?
So prices, the commodity prices in general have dropped approximately 20%. With a drop in commodity prices, and the exchange rate, the franc mainly to the dollar, is going to be affected. We are starting to see those effects, although slightly. That's of the main concerns in the short and medium term. However, in the longer term, the DRC should remain very relevant, and it's very strategic, as it's a very sought after source of higher grade minerals versus other mining countries in the world, even within Africa. We have very high grades of copper and cobalt reserves, along with gold, which is increasing in production locally. Mining companies themselves will have to adjust to the supply chain, as well as how business is conducted internally, the flow of the movement of labor, as well as their production. So they'll have to adjust their cost structures in the medium term, especially if prices don't recover to pre-crisis levels. However, with oil prices remaining lower, and any reduction in fuel costs will provide an added buffer to mining companies' cost of production. And so there would be theoretically additional profits that could be repatriated here and paid in royalties to the government, which the mining code insists upon, and help buffer the exchange rate as well. Gold prices, to the contrary, are reaching close to their all-time highs, and the Kibali mine is now producing more than 25 tons per year. There have been shortages of physical gold in the international markets, especially since the US Mint has shut down production in New York due to the coronavirus crisis. So any increase in production at Kibali will also benefit the overall mining sector in the country. Of course, higher prices eventually, depending on how supply is affected, higher prices in the medium and long term will encourage more exploration and development and investment into the mining sector locally, which would, of course, then help the local economy. Rahim?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Imran. So just to elaborate on Imran's point, I'm going to speak about the copper and cobalt metal pricing and the industry. Today, if you look, those are the largest two exports for the DRC. And in terms of copper, it is actually a very large demand. Now, when we look at South America, which is a large producer, since COVID, there's been a reduction about a 300,000 ton loss in production. And when you look at DRC currently, the big miners such as KCC, which is Glencore, they're shut down. When you look at 10K Fungurume, which is one of the other large mining houses, they're actually following very strict lockdown measures, which will lead to a reduction in pricing. Now, what does this mean for Lubumbashi and Kolwezi? Now, currently Lubumbashi or Kolwezi has not experienced any lockdowns. Therefore, companies are producing at a lower scale. Now, when you link this to the global market, whether it's China or other consumers, what does that mean? Although China, as many of you would have followed in the news, the production facilities have started, but their end user, which is the US, Europe, and other markets, are currently under lockdown. Therefore, demand is very low for copper. If you look from January to currently, copper has collapsed 30%. The price was 6,300. We saw it hit 4,300, and now we're floating around $5,000 a ton. What does this mean for the DRC at large? Now, when metal prices are low and production is low, therefore taxes generated by the government are also very low. Secondly, there will be a reduction in the inflow of USD. Every mining company by law is required to repatriate 60% of their export revenue. Now, with the reduction, you will see an impact in the flow of USD. So therefore, less USD means less reserve, and therefore could impact the exchange rate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rahim and Imran. We are going to move for the next question, which is what will be the impact on the supply chain? I will invite Mr. Sajid Rolia, Mr. Shabir to reply this question.
Okay, can I start?
Yes.
About supply chain will surely be affected, as the main buying power will certainly reduce. The strength of the sales will also be touched during the pandemic. However, the sector will not be touched because during the pandemic, the basic needs sectors are still continuing their daily routine. Only I can suggest that those who are not main business of necessity items should reduce their expense. This is what I have the suggestion. Thank you.
Mr. Sajid?
First of all, there will be a supply. There will be supply will be difficult from all over country. And हम लोग अगर ऐसा सोच रहे हैं कि भाई चाइना से हमें माल मिल जाएगा, तो ये भी एक डिफिकल्टी हो सकती है, क्योंकि चाइना भी शायद रॉ मटेरियल मंगा रहा है यूरोप से या कहीं और से, तो काफी दिक्कतें आएगी माल बाहर से मंगाने में.
Thank you, Shabir and Sajid. So we'll move on for the fifth question. This will be for Mr. Sajid also and Mr. Shidu. It's concerning the workforce, and it's considering the risk involved if one decides to close his factory or business temporarily and let all the workers go and temporarily leave. Is it legally to do that or allowed to do that? How the approach towards the employee, whether a local or expat, should be? Mr. Sajid, is for you.
Mr. Chidu.
Chidu. Mr. Chidu, if you can repeat. If you can repeat, because you were muted.
It's okay. So first of all, I would like to request you all to take all the precautions for this pandemic. You are hearing now?
Yes.
Yeah. To the reply to the question is normally legally it's not possible, but still there are measures. As far as the Congolese workers are concerned, there is one first measure is the congé anticipative. So we can give the holidays in advance. Normally our workers, they used to encash the leave and we pay them also. So instead of doing that, we can give the congé now and we pay the congé instead of encashing the congé. That is the first point, but this can be done only for 21 days or whatever it is, 18 days or 21 days only. The next step is we can go for the suspension. That is as per the Code de Travail 57.8, we can do that with the help of the Ministry of the Travail professionals, authorities. So this can be done. And as far as expatriate is concerned, there are three measures I would suggest. Holiday in advance, but again, traveling is the issue. And some withdrawal of this bonus, increments, those things can be cut. But anyhow, it is purely personal between the employer and employee. So considering the humanitarian ground and measures taken should not create any social unrest among the workers also, that we should take care. This is my opinion, and this is going to be a short-term phenomenon. Maybe as the other guy said, it's 5 to 8 months. So we should think long run and we have to take a decision wisely. If at all any negotiation has to be done, it has to be a fair negotiation. That's it. That's my opinion. Sajid, you want to add something? Thank you. Sajid?
No, I don't have anything to say. You covered everything. Thank you.
So the sixth question in that case, will there be any stimulus package or any exceptions on taxes from government to overcome this financial crisis? And the panelists answering this question will be Chidu, I think.
Yeah. This is quite possible. There is nothing, we should demand something through FEC or our community association. So normally the stimulus package should have certain exemptions, particularly from the central government. This exoneration of TVA and the import duty. On the importation itself, we should be exonerated. But this is quite possible. Even yesterday also, the DGDA has issued a notification upon which the TVA on importation of premier necessities are exonerated. And also exoneration on all the taxes of raw material of the pharma industry, that is also exempted. So the government is already considering these things and steps are being taken. So if with our communal together, if you claim something, we can get a lot of things also. If you ask 10, at least we get 5. So another thing is we can ask for complete tax holiday in the Axis. And in the IPR, IER also, we should ask them to give the holiday so that this will improve the workers' level, income level. So this will be helpful for them. The same thing we should ask the provincial government also to withdraw the taxes for at least 6 months. But this is quite possible because the government is already considering, because I spoke with few guys, so they are in the mentality to do something. So we will have to work on this file and we have to do the proper lobbying to get this done. At least for 6 months, 6 to 8 months, this stimulus package should be given. This is my opinion. Thank you.
Okay. I'm thinking that Jamil is still having difficulty, right? Joining us.
Because I have discussed with him all the points and he has agreed with these points. So that's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We'll move on to question number 7. are banks likely to extend credit during this period? What would they need in terms of guarantees? So the panelists answering this are Rahim Drolia and Imran Patel.
Thank you. So just to give a quick example, today banks depend on depositors. So whether it's an individual or a company, they depend on their deposits for lending. Now, currently the situation is as such. With the lockdowns, we've seen that businesses are not operating. Therefore, whether it's individuals or businesses, they will start withdrawing these funds. Therefore, banks will face a liquidity issue. However, the central bank of DRC has come in and has negotiated with the banks to allow those credits for the next 3 months not to be penalized. Therefore, if you're deferred or you're delayed in your interest or principal payments, the central bank is allowing a penalty-free 90-day moratorium period. But what does that mean? That means you as the client are responsible to speak to your account manager to ensure you have explained your file to benefit from this 90-day. And it will be subject to the bank's decision based on what guarantees you have and the cash flows that you have projected. Banks in return with this liquidity issue will need to get their lenders, whether it's the IFC from the World Bank or other DFIs, to come and assist. The other point I would like to add is in terms of new lending, banks have deferred most of that. And I think they're going to wait and watch till July, August this year to see how the market turns. So don't expect any new lending. Other than that, thank you. Yeah, that's it. Imran?
Thanks, Rahim. I think you covered the key issues very well and comprehensively. It's just important to stress that every business, and if it's in the case of a sole proprietorship, every business or sole proprietor should speak to their banks directly. Speak with your account manager, relationship manager, explain your situation and allow them to analyze and assess your business's needs and how you are affected by the crisis more closely, and work with them in order to find the solution that fits you. It's also important to understand that all financial institutions are going to be, I don't like to use the word, but inundated. They'll be flooded by similar requests. So patience is also would be advisable and required. And just know that it's in the bank's interest as well to maintain the relationship with you as a business in order to strengthen the relationship with you once the crisis ends and help you grow your business, as with your growth, they will also grow. So it's very important to maintain very open communications and a very good relationship with your bank, whether it's one or more.
Thank you, Imran and Rahim. The question number 8 is those businesses that depend on importation, and we're not speaking of basic necessities, what advice would you have for them? And we have Sajid Drolia to answer that, Shabir Virani, and Shams Ali Mahmoud. So I'll let you take that away. Who would like to answer? Should we start with Sajubai?
Shams.
Shams, okay. Shams, you're on mute.
Sorry. Okay.
Thank you.
This question has been asked by a few people that I also know. There are a lot of people in the used clothing business. And then, of course, there is a general merchandise that people bring from China and other places. And they're, self-starters. It depends on who you are, what your capital is, and, because the next 3 months or the next 6 months will not be easy. This has already I see that the business has gone down by 50%. More than that, it's because all the informal markets have been closed and they cannot sell over there. And those customers have disappeared. And what I would suggest is everybody looks at their own capacity, what their cash flow is, and how are they going to manage their next 4 to 5 months. Try to bring down their fixed expense, renegotiating their rents, talking with their expatriates, to renegotiate a short-term thing. So this I'm talking all in terms of 6 months. But then eventually, we all hope that things will come back to normal. And then you can come back with your full energy. This is the time to slow down and pay more attention to limit your infection, because all this business is not worth it if you're going to fall sick and fall for an infection, or anybody in their company does that. So I would say play it safe,
Okay.
Thank you, Shamsbhai. I think Shamsbhai has covered almost all the points, but I would like to use some few points what I have think about this.
Okay.
As we are aware, the closure of border for some countries imposed by coronavirus is already disrupting import channels. Several imported goods become limited, so their price have been naturally risen. A large part of the trade in our country is done by small traders which physically move with their products one place to another place. The crisis has therefore already led the loss of this economic activities. Although I would like to clarify, all the goods that have been ordered before this pandemic will surely come into the market. Order given previously will be beneficial for those traders who are importing basic necessity like hygiene, food, pharmaceutical products. Apart from those products, the other imported goods will take time to cover the market due to the drastic drop in demand. But this pandemic also will open the other doors to importers to diversify their work. They will be obliged to think differently and will try to struggle in this difficult time by investing in other different sectors. At the last, in my opinion, goods that are in demand in this period of crisis should be our first priority order. Practically, sudden change of business field is not really possible for everyone. So I would suggest that importation of goods that we usually order should continue, but in a small quantity. Thank you very much.
Hello. As for me, we need to have multiple suppliers, because we never know if we are dealing with one supplier at this moment. We need to deal with different countries also, because if we depend only on China, it might be complicated. And we need to have good communication with our suppliers, regular communication with supplier. And keep checking your market. Might be your market has changed. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. We go on to our next question, our 9th question, which is, what suggestions can we provide to businessmen to overcome this crisis? And the panelists answering this question are Sajid Rolia, Rahim Manji, and Natu Prajpati. So I will let you take it away.
Mr. Natu, Rahim is not there. So if you can go with Rahim's point and yours, please. Mr. Nattu, you are mute.
Okay, just a minute. Okay, now it's okay? Yeah. Okay. First and foremost, every crisis is an opportunity, and it represents an equal opportunity to emerge stronger than what we were. How can we navigate through this turbulence? Basically, while navigating this turbulence, cash is the king. It requires robust cash management to manage the business due to global uncertainty, and specifically in DRC, the global supply chain disruption will highly impact due to importation of majority of the goods. Certain working levers, capital levers to conserve cash. There are certain items like debtors, we need to increase the invoice frequency. We can negotiate advance payment terms, and wherever possible, avoid credit sales or try and reduce credit period. The second capital lever is payables. The company should prioritize the payments and ensure the process compliance. Also, we need to realize the discounts and rebates, renegotiate the credit terms, as good as consolidate the supplier base. The third major lever is the inventory. Just a minute, please. Then we come to the basic strategy. How can we navigate through this turbulence? The companies can have a phase-wise plan in line with demand as follows. And as a small team, we propose there are 3 phase-wise plans. One is to protect the existing business in short term. The second one is to restore the existing business in a medium term. And third one is to rebound the existing business in a long term. Today, we will discuss only the short-term business plan, which is more relevant to DRC. To protect this business, following are the key factors. Number 1 factor is the strategic response. The company should try to protect the revenue and customers. As I said earlier, every crisis is an opportunity, and it represents an equal opportunity to emerge stronger. And the second point is the company should sense the disruption impact. Specifically in DRC, the global supply chain disruption will highly impact due to importation of majority of the goods. The second key factor is the managing liquidity. The company should preserve the cash and create the liquidity. Also, identify the cash generation as well as saving opportunities. Cash is the king while navigating this crisis or turbulence. Third important key factor is the workforce and the productivity. The company should safeguard their key employees and motivate them. Also, the company should communicate the employee and try to be connected with them to understand their difficulties. This is the real difficult time. And when you really take care of your key employees, even you ask them, how are you and how is your family? The person really feels good that yes, my owner or my bosses are taking care of me, which directly or indirectly, it results into the productivity. And this is the key thing as on today's situation. The fourth key factor is the supply chain risk and the resilience. The company should assess the supply chain disruption, try to monitor it, and manage the risk involved. The company should also try to protect the orders because which is the need of the hour. Also protect their supplies, protect the deliveries. Thank you. Sajid, are you going to add anything?
So I'll just add very quickly to what you just mentioned. I think it's also a good opportunity for companies to see if they can diversify their product range. We've heard of stories whereby companies that were manufacturing, for example, diapers had gone on to manufacture masks. So if you have that flexibility, or if some modifications can be made to one's production line, I think that would be something worthwhile pursuing. Secondly, this is a good time to look for new markets for your products. Maybe markets that potentially you had ignored in the past. But in such a situation, this is a good opportunity to see if you can attract and penetrate those new markets. And thirdly, something interesting is look at different ways to deliver your products to your existing clients. For example, you're seeing in Kinshasa a lot of supermarkets, grocery stores, water companies have all started delivery services to your house as well. So this is something as well to keep in mind. I'll pass it on to Sajubhai.
Hello. I just want to say that be a leader, be a fighter, be honest with your people, protect your people. In this complicated time, give hope to your people. Even though you don't know where to go, you have to manage because you are a leader. Be a parent for your people. Have courage. Every problem has a solution. Be positive. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are great words of wisdom. We shall move on to our 10th question, which are, what are the suggestions for reducing cost or reducing overheads? And I believe it's Chidubhai and Natubhai that will respond to those questions.
Yeah, good evening again. Natubhai? I'll
Yeah,
start.
Chidubhai, you go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So cost reduction, it is a basic future of any kind of business. But in this pandemic, it is must, considering the business volumes and all of that. We have to be very vigilant in what we are making and everything. So I'm going to suggest certain measures. They're not new, they are common only, but focus should be on all these things. First thing is, as far as factories are concerned, we'll have to concentrate on the factory expenses. So that we have to do, what we have to do first is this energy savings. That is most important. The second one is the workers, time study, motion study, we need to carry out, and we have to restructure the work pattern. Definitely, that is important, so that the productivity will increase, cost per product will go down. Another one is this petrol consumption is the main thing, so we'll have to reduce our movements and we'll have to be very careful while using the petrol. Another thing is we should mostly the fixed expenses are the things that requires more attention and to be reduced. Under fixed expenses, the first thing comes is the rent of the factory, rent of the offices, and rent of the expatriate houses. That's also the big chunk. So we will have to negotiate with the landlords to reduce, at least for a short term, say 6 to 1 year. And we have to reduce as much as possible the foreign travels, and the holiday pattern also we can reduce of the workers, and which I already mentioned in the other point. Another thing is the publicity budget, so that needs to be considered also here. We have to use optimum level, so instead of spending more, but we cannot cut it also. So we have to study closely and do it to the optimum level. And another thing is to negotiate with our bankers to reduce the interest rate and bank charges, which I don't know whether it's possible or not, but still we should give a try. And reducing the free promotions, these are the major points of the cost reduction I would suggest. Out of all these things, we have to, as Sajubhai said, no, we have to help each other. That is the thing here we have to consider. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much to all the panelists. We have gone through our 10 questions. I just wanted to remind the audience once again that these panelists are business people that we know. They are business people that have been working a very long time in Kinshasa. They're part of our different communities that make up the Indian community. The opinions that they have given today are personal opinions. For the audience, it is up to you to use them as you think best. Nobody has a miracle answer at this point in time. What we have are opinions given the situation that we are facing, and the situation changes week by week. I think Naima has collected several questions. I just want the audience to know that we've been capturing questions on the chat as well as the Q&A. We will try to respond to as many as we can today. If not, we're hoping to hold more webinars into the future in specific areas, and we can at that time capture some of these questions. So Naima, I'll pass it on to you.
Okay, so one of the questions that has been asked, it's what strategy shall we adopt in order to maintain at least operational cash flow? I will invite Chidu, if possible, to reply this question.
To keep the operational cash flow, so the diversification is another option. And the sales, wherever possible, you do it. And that is the only thing. And also, because now the confinement is going on everywhere, so it's very difficult. So you can delay the external payments, like the creditors, the creditors, you can slow down the payment so that now you can keep your cash with you. So because this is a pandemic, everyone knows. So whatever your minimum collections are there, you keep with you for the time being, and you spend carefully. That will be the big good solution. Thank you. Yeah, please.
I think Naima's on mute. Rahim, can you unmute Naima?
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, Naima.
Okay. Chidu, I will continue with the next question that addressed to you as well. People would like to know more about the DGDA document that was issued yesterday about the list of essential goods that may benefit from VAT exemptions.
They have mentioned only the premier necessity, but the list of products under premier necessity is farine, the maize, rice, haricot, sugar, beef, pork, tomato, sardine oil, pilchard, beer, local, boson gases, or mineral, fruits, soaps, detergent, and alimet. These are the things. That document I shared to you the other day.
Yes, this document is official and it's available, I believe. Yes, but I will I'll remind everyone that the decree is not yet issued until the decree is not issued. So this document is not yet. So we'll have to wait for the decree.
So this document is a valid one through phony message from DGDA. So with this, we can act already. This is valid.
Okay. Okay. For the next question, what are some ways
that need to be explored? Sometimes, in some cases, it's difficult to change your manufacturing processes and equipments. If you have your team with you, I think this is a good exercise to do with your technical team to see what can be done differently, to brainstorm, to experiment, and basically give it a try so as to increase your customer base and potential sales options. So in a time like this, when your staff may have a bit more time on their hands and your equipment is not necessarily working to its full capacity, these are some of the things I would suggest that maybe we could look at.
Okay, we are going to move on. Thank you, Rahim. We are going to move on for the last question. Many people are asking questions about the construction industry. I will address this question to Sajid Drolia. What are the impact on construction industry and how we will deal with this industry workforce safety and mental health of workforce? Is this an opportunity for non-conventional way of construction, and will construction go in recession?
I can even potentially answer just one thing in terms of first Dubai, because there was some question that was also directed to me earlier. I think the construction industry, like any other, will be impacted by the corona crisis. However, we are seeing, for example, in Europe, in Italy, for example, they have now allowed construction work to recommence to a certain extent as well, in a limited manner. So in order to answer this question and the other one that was posed to myself, I think as in any industry, it's important to take the hygiene measures that have been recommended by WHO and that today people are familiar with. So that might even mean staggering your workforce, your timing, maybe not going at a full force as you were doing, but potentially also optimizing more of your construction processes. So that could potentially be another way to overcome that crisis. And I'll pass it to Sajubai if he has any other comments.
Our company is a risk taker company. So if you see, my thoughts is like, if I find a solution for corona, I will not stop, I will go. But it's really difficult to say something now that what exactly will happen for the construction business, because it's a long-term business. And I think that there is a scope. After a few time, after 6 months, 1 year, there is a scope. We should continue.
Thank you very much. Last and interesting question that I would like Shams to reply it is, many people of our communities are into retail sector, and many of them have asked the question, what advice you can give them today, especially for the one who does local buying and they don't import?
I know it depends now. If you're in retail business and you're in Gombe and there is confinement, you're really blocked. I have some friends who have all their shops in Gombe, and the 2 weeks has hit them very badly. So, you know, it's all these retail businesses, like, you know, they're on, depends where you are. You can be in a place where there is no confinement, and you could be doing quite well. Just, you have to be careful with your buying, because you don't know 1 week from now or 2 weeks from now if that confinement will come to that area. If you're doing local buying, I think your risks are quite limited, because usually most of the people supplying are very kind of understanding, and work with your capital, know your limits. And like Mr. Nathan said, that, you know, cash is the king, you know, keep the liquidity, have a good cash flow, be conservative with your projections, order accordingly, and go day to day, you know, just day to day how things are. And, you know, most of us Indians, we are very good business people, and we do quite well in that thing, and they should be able to manage it. and just have lots of courage and go one day at a time, and things will change, you know. Just the next 2 months, 3 months could be difficult.
Thank you, Shams, for these details. Last questions is for Imran, and we will close after that. President Amiza will close after this. Imran, the question is addressed to you. Is this the right time to invest in Congo if you have saving? And how do you stimulate innovation in a lockdown?
It's a very good question. I think for the first part, is it the right time to invest if you have savings? Firstly, it's very important to look at what your own capability is. What Mr. Shams just mentioned earlier, look at your capacity. What Sajubai said earlier, take risks. I would say take calculated risks. Do a proper analysis. Pick an industry or sector that you understand and can manage through a very difficult situation such as a crisis we are facing. Managing a business is not rocket science, but it has its complexities. Starting a business from scratch and anew in a very difficult environment may have additional complexities. But if you plan, prepare, and are have the right resources to mobilize, to look at the longer term and weather a crisis, then yes, seize the opportunity. There are opportunities that arise in crises, particularly in the food sector, bringing in food products, which this country, especially Kinshasa, is very dependent on, is getting more difficult. So in augmenting local production, perhaps partnering with existing businesses that present an opportunity now, where if you have spare capital, you can come and partner with them and help together with them build a stronger business that will be so much bigger after the crisis ends and help grow through the crisis, then yes, it would be a good time to do it. Be innovative. There are digital technologies and other innovative ways to grow your business and maintain your business, deliveries, going to the customer, reaching out. You know, Kinshasa is shut down, Gombe is shut down, but other areas are not. So you can take a bigger picture attitude and plan accordingly and execute. The key is execution and taking calculated risks.
Thank you, Imran, for that answer. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we come to a close for this session. Like I said, we would like to have more webinars like this in the future. They could be on specific topics. If you have any feedback, I'm sure the panelists here, many of you know the panelists, you can send them an email, a WhatsApp, etc. This has been an initiative of the Aga Khan Economic Planning Board, and we really thank each of the panelists. It's in times like this that we see that Kinshasa has a very unifying community amongst the Indians. Every member of the community, of different communities are involved. We are all affected by COVID. And in terms of the economic impact, it's not short term, it's extremely long term. And the best that we can do to help each other is to discuss as we have common questions. There aren't, unfortunately, that many answers in the situation, but we must be careful. There have been some really good pieces of advice given to the community, the audience. Once again, the audience should remember, these are personal opinions. You take them as information, you apply them at your own risk. Our panelists will be happy to join us hopefully next time around. And next time around, we will have other panelists from the community joining us. If you would like to be a panelist, please let any one of us know. We will be happy to carry this conversation with similar questions with other people. Take care of yourselves. Please wear your masks, wash your hands, and keep up with the social distancing and look out for each other. Thank you. Have a good evening.